Hey folks, I'm Mike. Do you hate ads? I hate ads. You know what I like? Patreon.com/Inkdependence. It keeps this blog ad-free. Hello folks, welcome to Inkdependence.com. I'm Mike, and this is Franklin-Christoph's Graphite 4B. Graphite 4B was introduced at the Triangle Pin Show this year, so that's real early June, like June 1st or something, and no fanfare. I didn't even know this was coming out until I saw it at the pin show, and I'm like, hey, what's this, man? So it comes in this bottle, which is a 1-ounce glass bottle. Scott was kind enough to hook me up with this one for review. It also comes in a 2-ounce eyedropper bottle, which is plastic bottle. It's got the little like screw nozzle cap thing. You just squirt it directly into an eyedropper pen. This one goes for $8.25 or $12.50 for the 2-ounce bottle. So pretty low price ink, Franklin-Christoph inks, and I've liked, I think, almost all of them. So here is what it looks like on some paper. Let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit more. There we go. Franklin-Christoph 4B, as you can see here, is a real dark ink, and it's meant to sort of mimic 4B pencil graphites. So Scott is a big pencil fan. In fact, he has told me before that he uses pencils more than he uses anything else for design and all kinds of stuff. So he likes pencils a lot. I'm not such a big fan, but I do know that 4B is a very nice dark lead, and you know, the kind of pencil lead I would be into. So I had this in 2 pens. This is one of them. This is an Aurora Talentum. This is has a medium nib on it. It's a very nice nib, but it's also real wet. And it's not a great match for this ink, actually, because this flow is pretty wet on this pen, or on this ink as well. And I also had in this pen, which is a Model 3 this is Italian Ice. It's that cool finish that that cool material like fluoresces purple in UV light, which I don't have right now. And this has a medium SIG on it, which is fairly, it's on the finer side, as you can see these 2 writing samples. And it's this graphite ink is a much better match for this medium SIG than it is this super wet Talentum. I may have to have this one, like, I don't know, either use real dry inks with it or something, because man, it is a gusher. And you can see huge differences, I think, in the way that these 2 write. So, as I say here on my Rhodia 80 grams per square meter, this is pretty wet, and there is some definite bleed on the 20-pound from the Aurora nib. Let's go ahead and look at that now just for funsies, because we have it here. Obviously the top is that medium nib, which looks huge because it definitely did some spreading, a little bit of feathering, and also bled quite handily through this 20-pound 30% recycled Staples paper. The SIG nib, on the other hand, looks nice and sharp. It did have a little bit of spread maybe, but nothing egregious, and no real feathering or anything like that. And then there's a little bit of bleed. You can see through it because paper's pretty thin, but only a couple of little spots of bleed. So pretty darn good from the SIG. If you use stuff that's smaller than a medium, I wouldn't imagine that'd be much of a problem at all. But if you put a really wet ink in a real wet pen, you might have a bad time, and I just don't care for it in this pen. On this paper, it looks pretty good, and on some of the my tester papers that I'll show here in a little bit, I think it looks pretty good there too, but that's because these are pretty high quality paper and they can really handle the ink. If you put it on a crappy paper, man, it goes right through that. So, if you dump it on here with a very wet nib. All right, let's go ahead and look at the water test right quick. There we go. Get some of that up there. Make a real mess. All right. Let's blot this away. Come on, there we go. I put down more water than I usually do. It really took a minute to soak up. All right, nothing much showing up here. There we go. Most of it stayed on the page rather than coming up, so some nice water resistance. You can definitely still read it. All the lines and dots are still there. A little bit faded, but not too bad. I actually forgot, I don't have my chromatography strip here, so I'll insert a picture of it here. And there you go. Okay, let's look at it on a couple of tester papers and then get some side-by-side comparisons with other gray-ish inks and see how it goes. Okay, so this is a currently inked notebook. This is wheat straw paper. And here are those two samples. So here's the Graphite 4B from the Aurora Talentum, which is real real wet, but it didn't come through this wheat straw paper because it's good stuff. So no problems here really. It felt pretty good. It took a second to dry, and actually I closed the book too soon after I wrote these, and I got a little bit on the facing page. But this one obviously no problems over here. So it obviously dries a lot quicker with this medium sig, and yeah, just overall I think I like it better in the smaller nib. Because man, this is overwhelmingly wet. All right, and then on an ink journal, this is a Tomoe River ink journal. Here they are down here at the bottom. All right, they're next to each other. Got this RO Velvet Storm up here looking pretty, but here is that gray, and it does take on some pencil-y qualities. It doesn't soak into this Tomoe River, of course, because that's how Tomoe River rolls. But you do have a very pencil-y sort of look there, and I actually like this this Talentum look on this paper pretty nicely. It's got a little bit of shading there, which you don't really see anywhere else. There's no sheen or anything on this ink, but on the right paper you do get a little bit of shading, and you get some here. I think it looks pretty darn good. All right, okay, let's look at a whole bunch of samples. So here is the 4B. This is a Colodex card. I love Colodex cards. These are my favorite things to do ink samples and swatches on. So there we go. And as you can see, this is a very dark ink. I mean, it's a gray, but it's darker than some actual blacks I have. So that's kind of cool. Here is one that a lot of people will be familiar with. This is Mont Blanc Oyster Gray. And you can see a stark difference between these two. Very, very light, silvery sort of gray here, as opposed to the very dark 4B. As far as another real light one that people know about, here's another one. This is Irishizuku's Kurosawa, and very, very light in comparison, right? So you have a lot of different kinds of grays, and here are three of them that are not even really close. This one's nearly black. This one's kind of, I don't know, blue purplish a little bit, and then this one just sort of runs silver, which is kind of cool. All right, here are some that are closer. This is Caran d'Ache Infinite Gray, which is a gray I quite like. You don't hear a whole lot about Caran d'Ache. They're fairly expensive ink, but it's got an interesting color to it. You get more shading and that sort of thing from the Caran d'Ache than you do from the graphite. But this is actually quite a lot darker than this one is in practice. Let's see what else. Papier Plume's Oyster Gray, which I think is gorgeous, is slightly bluer than the Franklin-Christoph ink, but also another dark gray for you. Then you have Diatramentis. This is actually Graphite Black, which is, it's supposed to be a black more or less, but it's got this graphite thing, so they're kind of going for this gray, but it comes off a little bit green in comparison. You're not going to find any of that blue or green or anything like that in this 4B. And then here's Three Oysters Cool Gray, which I actually just reviewed a little while ago, which is a pretty nice gray as well. So if you want to go a step darker than Cool Gray, you can go all the way to almost black here with the graphite. Alrighty. So this has been Franklin-Christoph's Graphite 4B. Check this out at franklin-christoph.com. It's in the ink cellar. You'll find it listed there among all the other inks. And you can get it for $8.25 or $12.50, depending on what size bottle you get and all that jazz. It is available now. Tell them I sent you. That always helps out, and people know where a person comes from. And I will see y'all later on. Peace out. And those...